In today's video, you've been working hard on your physique and now you want to go from around 14% body fat down to what you think 10% body fat looks like. I'm going to give you the plan on what you need to do to get there, and we're going to talk about what's going to happen along the way. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Arbella from ProPhysique.com, and it's that time of year where we're going to start talking about changing our bodies for the better, putting ourselves in a position where we're really excited about the way we look. And if you haven't heard about our transformation challenge, it kicks off right after the Super Bowl, so check that out. But for today's video, I want to answer this question. Decided to build back up in May of 2023. I'm at 161 pounds. I've used your macro calculator. I'm at around 14% body fat. I'd like to get to 10% at my age, which is 53 years old. Do I just keep going, or do I have to increase the deficit even more for the remaining belly fat? And I think this is where a lot of us start to question what we're doing, because the math sometimes does not add up. So let's talk about the big picture. How many calories are you taking in per day? How active are you throughout the day? And are you seeing changes? I think a lot of times with all the information that we have, now I do have a free calculator that I'll provide here for you guys, but remember, calculators are just based on research and science. They're not based on an individual, right? So while they can be a great guide, they do not have the data that you have. They are not you. So as a coach, what I do when I'm helping people, like the people that are joining our transformation challenge, is we provide specific information around them. Now, the first thing that we have to do is a diet recall. What does that mean? That means you track your calories for an entire week, sometimes just a couple days if you're kind of eating the same things consistently. But a diet recall means you are going to take that banana that you're eating, you're going to take that steak that you're eating, you're going to take those eggs, that bagel, and you're going to put it into an app. Now, the app that I'm using right now is called Nutrition IX. It's completely free. It's just a food diary. It does not judge you, doesn't tell you what to do. The beauty there is you're just getting data. I don't care if you're eating fast food 3 times a day, it's just data. Now, you're plugging all that information in. Now you're armed with data on what you need to change. You can look at what your calorie intake looks like. Now, the other side of the equation is, what is our daily routine like? Okay, are you a very sedentary person? Can you increase your daily activity? Can you get more steps? Can you do some intentional cardio? Is there something that you like to do that you haven't been doing? Maybe it's starting to warm up now and you can go outside and play some basketball or go for a walk, and you haven't been able to do that because of the winter. We all go through these phases. It's very normal. Please don't feel judged by people that are in good shape or people that are in bad shape. We all go through phases of this process, and I can tell you, even as someone who's been as shredded as anybody can ever be, I'll show you some picture here. I go through phases as well. My phases are probably a little bit less up and down, but even I'm about to go through a rebuild phase. I'm about to focus on losing a little bit of body fat, adding some muscle. I'm going to take you guys along for that journey. I'm actually going to do our challenge. So what I want to give you is the confidence to go, okay, if I'm at 14% body fat and I want to get down to 10%, what can I expect? First of all, 12 to 15% body fat is what I consider that sweet spot for men, where you're pretty lean. Everyone's going to think you're in great shape. You're going to feel pretty confident, but you're still going to have good energy. And while you might be hungry throughout the day, every time you eat, you're going to feel good, you're going to feel better, and you're going to have a lot of confidence that you're doing the right things. However, when we start to dip below 12%, right? When we get down to 11, 10%, even lower, this is when we're going to start to have some behaviors that are going to feel a little bit odd. We can actually start to compromise some of our hormones. For men with low body fat, that can be testosterone. Now, you said that you're 53 years old. If you're not getting blood work, I recommend you work with a doctor, okay? I'm 48 years old. I still have never needed TRT. I take care of myself, but the day will come when perhaps for my quality of life, that will be a necessity. However, when I go through dieting phases, I definitely feel the impact of having a little bit less testosterone. That is just a normal thing that happens as we go in and out of dieting. So if you're going to diet down to 10% body fat, be prepared to have a little bit less energy, perhaps a little bit less sex drive, but also a little bit more hunger, right? The hunger signals can actually become a little bit different. And here's what I mean by that. What I notice when I'm very lean, below 10% body fat, I actually get hungrier when I eat. That's right. Your body adapts to this and allows you to not be as hungry. But when you eat, it kind of kicks off those hunger signals and it makes it harder to stop eating. So you have to have a strategy. What strategy is that? For me, that means I prepare my meal, I get it ready, And before I start eating, I put everything else away. Why? Because if you're eating a meal and you've got some extras there, it's very easy to grab something, right? You can even do it unconsciously. You can even just do something without meaning to do it. How many of us, raise your hands if you've done this, I'm raising my hand because I've done it, walk into the pantry when you're dieting. You didn't want to get up for food. You just find yourself strolling into the kitchen, looking through things. I do it all the time when I'm in prep. It's almost like an involuntary reaction to being hungry. I get a hunger signal, I walk into the kitchen. I then have to mentally go, oh, I don't actually have a meal right now and I don't have room for any extra food. So what are the strategies I employ when this hunger kicks in? I like to use things like calorie-free drinks, sometimes a diet soda, things that help me abate that hunger. I'll also be a little bit more diligent about meal prepping so that I have meals ready to go every few hours. I like to eat every 4 to 5 hours, pretty substantial meals based around my macro goals. That really helps me get to that place because unconscious or subconscious behaviors really do start to change when you have hunger. When I'm dieting, actually start to enjoy the feeling of being hungry. It tells me that my body is breaking down fat and it's telling me to go eat to replace that, right? Our bodies get to a place where it's called homeostasis. This is where it wants to stay. To lose body fat, you're kind of breaking that comfortability. And for a little while, you'll be hungry. But what you'll find is if you diet for a long enough time, the hunger signals will change and you'll actually be okay with it. But now you're dealing with multiple things. You're going to be a little bit hungrier. You're going to have a little less energy and you're going to start to conserve energy. What does that mean? Well, if you're not tracking your daily steps and if you're not tracking your activity, what I typically find is people that get lean, low body fat, they'll start to move less throughout the day. This conservation of energy can make a huge change in how many calories you're burning throughout the day. What determines how much fat we lose? The calories we take in, the calories we burn. If you drop the calories you're burning, that means the amount of food that you're taking in might be enough to sustain you so that you don't lose any body fat, okay? This is not the body's end goal for us. We have these goals of looking a certain way, feeling a certain way, and I fully support that. As a competitor myself, as someone who diets down to gets to say like 5% body fat, I think it's a very valuable tool in the toolbox, especially if you're passionate about fitness and you want to look a certain way. However, you have to understand the changes the body is going through, the psychology, the physiology. It actually makes it a little more fun. It makes it a little more challenging to know that you're doing something that most people can't do. Most people aren't willing to do, and they're going to recognize that. You're going to recognize that. So the biggest thing that you need to do is trust the data. If you're in a 300 calorie deficit as you subscribe per day, but you're not losing any weight, any body fat, you're not seeing any changes in your physique, you're not noticing any, less inches coming off, then you're not actually in a deficit. You are now in a maintenance phase, okay? However, to change that, you got to change the parameters of what you're doing. You understand where your calories are, you understand your movement. Now, while I have a basement for calories that I don't like to go below, activity, on the other hand, I'm a big fan of. Moving more, walking more, especially people with active jobs. One thing I've noticed is that they have a lot less struggle losing body fat if they have a job that requires them to move a lot. Why? Because our minds are active. If your brain is active on a task and it requires you to move, hunger signals, you won't be thinking about food, you won't be thinking about things. When we typically get hungry is when we're sitting still and our brains are not active. So finding ways to ensure that you're putting yourself in a position to be active mentally and physically is really going to set us up to get to that 10% body fat level. So you need to have a good daily routine where you're planning ahead your whole schedule, right? What time are you getting up? What time are you eating your meals? Are your meals already prepped? What time are you doing cardio? Making sure you're getting to bed. Now, sleep is probably one of the most underrated things when it comes to fat loss. Why? Because a good night's sleep will actually lower cortisol and lower our hunger signals, okay? If you are short on sleep, you are going to be awake more hours of the day. Your cortisol is going to be higher. Your hunger signals are going to be higher. Your stress levels are going to push you to potentially find some food for comfort. So you're on the right path. If you need help, we have coaches here at Pro Physique, or if you're looking for a goal, the Transformation Challenge is just that thing. Kicks off the day after the Super Bowl. Guys, it's 90 days. We're giving away $25,000. We're giving you nutrition plans, training plans. We're providing you a private group setting. And if you need a coach, I got you. Just let us know. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you tomorrow.